Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing with our summer scouting series as we take a deep dive into the Missouri Tigers heading into the 2023 season. And if you guys have been listening to me in the summer, you know there might not be anybody higher on the Missouri Tigers than your boy. This is a team that I'm not saying they're going to go out and win an SEC title, but they seem to be kind of getting forgotten about in this SEC conference. And you look back at what they did last year with some things that I think will get much better in the 2023 season. They were very competitive, right? Maybe not on the record, but you take a look at how they competed. I mean, one of the few teams to push Georgia. I mean, outside of the Kansas State and on the road at Tennessee, where those games got a little ugly, Missouri was right there in it with every single game they played. And this is a team that I think gets significantly better heading into 2023. Excited to take a deep dive into this program. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been a blast doing these summer scoutings. And the best part about it is just learning from you guys. And so if you guys have any of your takes, guys I might be sleeping on, position groups I might be sleeping on, let me know in the comment section. And of course, if you do enjoy the content, you want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's dig into it. I want to start at the quarterback position. It's a position that you got to start with. And a really interesting position for the Missouri Tigers. I've been kind of on record that Jake Garcia is my guy. I watched him during the Miami spring game 2 years ago. He is dripping with talent, and in a right system, I really do think that Jake Garcia can be a phenomenal quarterback. Now, what's good for Missouri is you have three quarterbacks that I think you feel really good about, right? Brady Cook, although was not necessarily the most flashy quarterback, you go back and look at the numbers, was a pretty solid quarterback in the SEC. He's a quarterback that you can win a lot of games with. Banged up in the offseason. It sounded like Jake Garcia got most of the reps because Brady Cook was banged up. Sam Horn was banged up. So Jake Garcia coming in got a lot of those reps. And I do think that Jake Garcia provides the highest ceiling for this Missouri Tigers offense. Now, will he be the best quarterback come week one? That's still to be determined. It sounds like it will be a competition in fall camp. But Jake Garcia, Missouri fans, I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. Extremely talented out of high school, a guy that I really think can be a quality quarterback in the SEC. And at the very least, be on par, but offer a significant more upside than Brady Cook, who really did. I mean, like was solid, but doesn't really have that upside that I think you're looking for in an SEC quarterback. Now, what's even more exciting is taking a look at the position groups. You lose Dominic Lovett, who Dominic Lovett was a phenomenal receiver. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that sliding Luther Burden into that slot is going to be massive for Missouri. Like if Missouri exceeds expectations, it's because the quarterback plays really good and Luther Burden really breaks out as one of the best wide receivers, not only in the conference, but in the country. And him working in the slot where I think he will be just a matchup nightmare. I'm really optimistic about his progression. And then you bring in a guy in Theo Weiss Jr. from Oklahoma, who, again, former five-star guy, struggled to kind of make it work at Oklahoma. Coaching change, quarterback change. I think he still has some juice. Now, am I saying he's going to be the best quarterback wide receiver in the SEC? Probably not. But a former five-star guy that has some serious physical traits, he can work vertically down the field. He's going to be a quality receiver for Missouri. And then Mookie Cooper, I think, is a very solid option as well. Like the surrounding talent behind whatever quarterback it's going to be, I think you're really excited about. And then you look at the running back room. I think it's solid, right? Cody Schrader, a former Division II player. I mean, like as solid as it gets. He's not an all SEC guy, but he can run the football. He's going to be consistent. I think Nathaniel Pete, the former transfer from Stanford, is also a quality player. Like that running back room is going to be good. But what I'm most excited about, there's two things really, or three things I'm most excited about. One, the quarterback play and the potential significant step up we see, whether Jake Garcia or Brady Cook plays. Wide receivers step up, and then this offensive line is going to be good. Like, and you look at across the country, there are not many teams that are really happy about their offensive tackle spot, right? It was something that every team wants to go in the transfer portal and get. Missouri brings back Javon Foster, who might be the best returning tackle in the SEC at that left tackle spot. They go out and get Marcellus Johnson, who was one of the more sought-after tackles in the transfer portal from Eastern Michigan. Extremely excited about what he can bring to the table. And then you go get Cameron Johnson from Houston, who sounds like he's going to try to transition from guard to center. That is kind of the big question mark, is can he make that transition? If he does, you're looking at the three most important positions on that offensive line. being really quality dudes. And Javon Foster, Marcellus Johnson at the right tackle spot, and then Cameron Johnson, who again was an all-conference performer at Houston. Most Power 5 teams, when he hit the portal, were calling his number. And the Missouri Tigers, who hired Houston's offensive line coach, end up landing Cameron Johnson. That's what excites me the most, is this Missouri offensive line has a chance to be really quality with really good quarterback play and some exciting playmaking at the wide receiver position. You take a look at this offense, I expect some significant steps in the right direction with Eli Drinkwitz at the helm there. Now, looking over at the defensive side of the ball, my biggest concern about the defense is the pass rush, right? When you lose guys, and I take a look at my notes, you lose Isaiah McGuire, you lose Coleman. Like, those guys were really quality, especially a guy in Isaiah McGuire, who I just think was one of the more slept on NFL draft prospects. If you guys listen to our NFL draft stuff in the spring, banging the table for Isaiah McGuire, just being an absolute dog off the edge. Who is going to step up? I mean, Darius Robinson, I think, is one of the better defensive linemen in the SEC. Outside of that, I think it's a solid group, but I'm kind of looking for somebody to kind of emerge and be that elite pass rusher with Darius Robinson. It might not be from the defensive line, though, because you look at that linebacker spot. Tyron Hopper, the transfer from Florida, was one of the best linebackers in the SEC last year. And what does he specialize in? Blitzing. And I'd expect if Missouri struggles to get some serious pass rush with this defensive line group, you're going to see a healthy dose of Tyron Hopper getting downhill and causing havoc in the backfield. And he's a guy that's his specialty. And you have Chad Bailey as his running mate, got a guy that is as solid as it gets at that linebacker spot. You can let Tyron Hopper kind of take the leash off of him and let him go be an impact guy when you have another guy in Chad Bailey who you feel really, really good about. So you look at this front seven. If this defensive line, and Joe Moore, the transfer, if he can kind of give you some juice, that's my big question. And if that defensive line comes together, you're looking at a really good linebacker group, and you're looking at one of the better secondary groups that you see across the SEC. Looking down at my notes, Chris Abrams-Drain probably would have been a day 2 pick had he declared to the NFL draft. I think Anis Rakestraw, I hope I said that name right. I think he's a really quality player as well. And you look at the safety spot, right? Dylan Carnell, Jalen Carroll's, like, it's a really good group in the secondary that, and you add some guys like Trevez Johnson. I really like this secondary group. And so you look at Missouri's depth chart, and we'll take a look at the schedule in a second. You look at this depth chart as a whole, they kind of check the boxes off a lot of things you're looking for a quality football program, right? Really solid offensive line with some playmakers at the wide receiver spot. The quarterback is an unknown quantity, but that doesn't mean it's going to be bad, because you bring Brady Cook back, you know what you're getting with him. He's a quality quarterback, but potentially Jake Garcia providing, in my opinion, a lot more upside. And Sam Horn and Jake Garcia are the guys that you don't really know because you haven't really seen them start. But if they kind of click, they provide a lot of upside at that quarterback spot, but you know you're going to get quality play, because at the very least, whoever beats out Brady Cook in camp is going to be a solid quarterback. And then you look at the defense, one of the better secondary groups, a really, really good linebacker core. And then that one question mark is that pass rush, that defensive line. This was a really good Missouri defense last year. They played really disciplined, and it was on paper and on the stat sheet, a really quality group. And you take a look at the schedule, and there's a few swing games that I kind of want to talk about for Missouri. And what I love most is you open up with 2 home games that are relatively easy, right? South Dakota, Middle Tennessee. If Missouri is even close to as good as I think they can be, you should take care of business relatively easy. And you get whoever's playing quarterback, if it's a new face in Jake Garcia, I hope, you're going to get them some easy reps, because then you get Kansas State. And I love that Kansas State game being at home. That is, if you ask me when I was looking at the schedule, what is the most important game on this Missouri schedule? I think it's Kansas State, because if you can pull off, and I think it'd be an upset, you consider it an upset beating Kansas State, the Big 12 champions of last year. You're playing Memphis, should take care of them. You play Vanderbilt on the road. If Missouri's as good as I think they are, they take care of business. You're 5-0 with LSU coming to town Saturday, October 7th. And that, I'm not picking Missouri to win that game. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke and act like Missouri is the best team in the country. That's going to be an exhilarating game in terms of getting this program going in the right direction. That could be College game day. Because if Missouri's 5-0 with a win on Kansas State, you're probably talking about a top 25 team in the country. With LSU coming to town, going to be a night game, potentially College game day if everything shakes out the way you want, that's a game that can put Missouri a little bit on the map. And Eli Drinkwitz kind of maybe stagnating this program, that could be kind of a jumping or a turning stone under the Eli Drinkwitz tenure. Now, we'll give that a loss, but then you go on the road at Kentucky where certainly a winnable game. I mean, I know you have Devin Leary that should have won that last year. I know you have Devin Leary coming in for Kentucky. I still think Missouri's capable of winning that. South Carolina, another game that I mean, that's a toss-up game. Kentucky, South Carolina, Missouri is certainly capable of beating both those teams. We saw it last year on the road at Georgia. I know Missouri gave them a fight last year. It's hard for me to say they're going to go on the road to Athens and beat Georgia. Tennessee at home, that's going to be a tough one too, but Joe Milton has some question marks. Florida, certainly a winnable game, and then you go on the road at Arkansas, and what's just is going to be a really fun game to watch. This is a Missouri team that if the chips fall the right way, there's only 2 games that I'm really picking them to lose, and that's on the road at Georgia and probably LSU. And then maybe Tennessee if Joe Milton really clicks. But outside of that, this is a Missouri team that you saw last year was extremely competitive in almost every single one of their games. And they're returning a lot of guys that were contributors last year and potentially bringing in some guys that are going to be even better, right? Jake Garcia, Theo Weiss Jr. I really excited about this program. Again, I'm not going to say they're going to go out and win an SEC title. That being said, this Missouri team, I think, has the chance to catch a lot of eyeballs. You're seeing some traction on the recruiting trail for Eli Drinkwitz. If you're a Missouri fan, again, not an SEC title, but this is a team that's going to be competitive. And I think this could be a season that you really start getting this program kind of going back to where it belongs, right? Eli Drinkwitz has done a solid job. I wouldn't say he's done a great job. This is kind of that season for Missouri that I think you're talking about, okay, Eli Drinkwitz really has this thing going in the right direction. That's my take on this Missouri team. I had a blast going through this again. If you guys have any takes, any players I'm sleeping on, specifically the defensive line, Missouri fans, if you guys got some sleepers there, I would love to hear them because that is the one position group that I'm a little bit concerned about. Appreciate you guys checking us out as usual. And if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.